Welcome to the Golden Grail, the rise of the Magdalene witches, summer solstice, soul gathering. Our chalice for the voice of the Magdalenes to be shared. Because we made a pact to return, and with the wisdom teachings intact, now we share them. And I'm your creator and host, Emer Stassen, and I hope you enjoy each and every one of these unique, soulful conversations. Now let's dive in. So delighted to welcome today's soulful speaker, Jocelyn Starfeather, a visibility and thought leadership coach for visionary entrepreneurs, spiritual alchemist, sacred site tour facilitator, astrologer, and founder of Sacred Planet. And I'm just so honored to for you to be part of this summit again, and for your voice to be in the mix with all of this. So thank you for being here, Jocelyn.
Oh, thank you so much, Emer. It is an honor and a pleasure to be here. And I'm just feeling the energy so strongly of what you are bringing together, the conversations you're having, and all the magic that will be created and ripple out from this event. It is big and powerful. Thank you for doing this.
Thank you so much. And your topic, another big and powerful topic, is journeying to a time before the Great Woundings, opening portals of light and remembrance. Woo-hoo!
Yay!
It's like, woo-hoo! So where would you like to start? At the time of the Great Woundings? And speaking of that.
Yes, well, as I mentioned to you before we began, I have some slides to share. So I will start there because it lays the foundation for everything else. And what's really fascinating, I think what I'm sharing here, it's a bit of a magical historical context for, I think, so much of what you'll be discussing throughout your event. So I hope it will be so helpful in giving people this foundation of who we really are and who we were before those woundings.
Oh,
so
tingle.
Let me share my screen here. And I will make this, there we go. So to find out who we really are, we must go way, way back. And once we bring this into our awareness, who we truly are, who we truly were when we were closer to the origin point, where we were so deeply interconnected with the earth and the cosmos, and really knowing our place there, our beautiful magical role as this conduit between the great above and great below. When we bring that into our awareness, it shifts our whole perspective of what is possible. So that's a little bit of what I want to convey here today. Now, I have just, this is a little busy, but just to give you an idea, the KYA is 1,000 years ago. So like 50,000 years ago, 40,000 years ago, we have the first, the oldest discovered cave paintings, which are incredible art. I'll share a couple slides of those in this presentation. And going forward here, the end of the last ice age dates to about 12,000 years ago, but we had major civilizations going on before that, and more discoveries are showing. For example, Göbekli Tepe in Turkey was from about 11,600 years ago. So people, and this is a highly advanced, very high technology structure that they built. So we weren't just getting started then. We had very high civilizations, and what is increasingly being discovered in the geology, in the anthropology, is that the civilizations were much more advanced before 12,000 years ago than we've been led to believe. But that what happened at that time was a great flood that came through and wiped out, the structures, or put them underwater. You would be amazed how many very advanced pyramids and other architectural structures are under the water around Indonesia, off the coast of China and Japan. It's fascinating. So our consciousness, our capability as human beings goes back much farther than we've been told and what's written in the current history books. And then, going forward here, 8,000 BC is where we see agriculture beginning to develop. So even before agriculture, we had these massive civilizations, and so on into the future. So this is the Mesolithic time between 10,000 to 4,000 10,000 to 6,000 years ago. And then 6 to 4,000 years ago was the Neolithic period. And then we get into the Bronze Age and the Iron Age. So I'm going to show you in the dating of the next images. This is another view of that, but it's just for reference. So these incredible goddess images here, the Venus of Willendorf, 19,000 BC. Oh my, that's 21,000 years ago. And the Venus of La Selle, 25,000 years ago, 23,000 BC. Look at these incredible, powerful feminine figures, right? They represented fertility. They represented the cycles of life and the seasons and the eternal return of life itself. This Venus of La Selle is holding either a crescent moon or a bull or cow's horn in her hand with 13 notches on it. No mistake there, 13 moon cycles in a year, 13 menstrual cycles in a year. So this is the beautiful evidence we have of just how deeply we understood the importance of life, the importance of the force of creation that is held within our beautiful bodies, and our connection with the cosmos and the earth. It's so beautifully represented here. In these far ancient primordial times, before the Great Woundings, the mother goddess was perceived not only as the one who birthed the new life, but she was also the dark mother who gently folded these deceased, all of us, the deceased beings, back into her great womb so that we can be born again in a new form. There was a very profound knowledge that death is not the end, and that we are continually being recreated, and that all things are continually being recreated. And this is mirrored to us. I'm going to come back to that. This is mirrored to us literally in the cycles of everything around us. This continual cycle of birth, life, death, and rebirth. It's mirrored to us in the cycles of the moon, in the cycles of the seasons, the daily cycle of the sun, the 26,000 year cycles of the constellations as they shift and change in our skies. And so the moon was always known to be an eternal symbol and reminder of this. Let me go back to these cave paintings. These are from the Chavot cave in France, and this is from 32,000 years ago. So before the woundings, our consciousness was so merged with all of life, and it really shows up in these paintings. It's just really incredible. I mean, these are fairly psychedelic, these are again, showing this endless cycle of life, death, and rebirth, because often these animals were painted when we were forming a relationship with them, because we knew we needed to kill them and eat them to live and to make our clothes and our shelter. But we were not just killing them. We were in deep connection with them, and we knew that they would live on through us. And so the more you gaze at these paintings, the more moving they are. But I just really want to give a deep sense of the high consciousness that we were living in long ago. And as we come up a little more recent, a little closer to our current times, we have this incredible statue, again, a very fertile, what is the word I'm looking for? Robust female, right? And she's sitting on a throne with lion heads. This is from Turkey or Anatolia from about 6,000 BC, 8,000 years ago in Çatalhöyük. And there we find a lot of the feline energy. There are two leopards on the right side here. This is from 5900 BC. You can see their beautiful spots. It's really cool. And then coming even more to our current times, we have these incredible bird goddesses. We have them from many different continents, right? Many different ancient civilizations saw the feminine as being winged. And what's really magical about this is that, you know, we know of the sky realms above, the heavens, the earth realms beneath our feet, and the birds are the ones who can traverse both, who can be the carriers of information between the great above and great below. And so, of course, our perception of the magical feminine and all the deities, you know, gods and goddesses were linked with those who could travel between, who could be messengers between the humans and the gods. So beautiful. Yeah. And then we have the serpents. Now, these are some really powerful serpentine imagery that you see here. This one on the upper right is an incredible sculpture of a woman holding a child, and they both just have these coiling serpents wrapped around them. And so this was a deep knowledge that we had of the Kundalini energy, of the life force that rises and spirals through our chakras, that rises up from the earth through us. And it's the animating force, the life force itself. And so we see this one in the middle. This is Wajet from Egypt. Very powerful. The serpents, the way that they drew them in Egypt, it's like nothing else. It's really incredible. So many different shapes and sizes of serpents, because they really knew, they really understood the importance of honoring that aspect of the feminine. And I actually have a close-up in a couple slides of this beautiful serpent goddess from the island of Crete. So we can see her even a little bit more closely when we get to that. Now, something that we see so prominently in the far ancient times is this idea of the bird, the tree, and the snake being interwoven. And so we have the bird at the top, somewhere in the tree or at the top of the tree. Then the tree is the connector between the great above and the great below. And the serpent is winding up from the earth. I love this alchemical image on the right, where the serpent is like forming a labyrinth at the base of the tree. And then often we see the serpent winding up the tree. And so this is the life force and how it moves in our world and how it moves within our bodies and truly within all living things. So as you take these in, just allow your hearts to be opened and expanded. Allow your mind to be opened and expanded to the very profound knowledge that we held in these ancient times. That was not about book learning. It was not about, you know, science, although it was, but that's not what that wasn't the focus, right? It was about life, and it was about understanding the sacredness of creation itself and the magic that is held within our bodies in this life force energy, the absolute miracle of birth and death, both being equally honored and respected as portals, as doorways to the next stage of who we are. This kind of consciousness is what is coming back into our world now. And I know that's so much of what you are probably having conversations about, Emer. Here is the sacred bull, has incredible symbolism and imagery from these ancient times. And if we look at the bull head, or we look at the head of Hathor here from Egypt, we'll see that this was honoring the feminine reproductive system. Isn't that just so incredible? The curved horns of the bull were also associated with the crescent moon. You can see the clear resemblance there. So this was a very ancient Neolithic image, and even going back to Paleolithic times, which were previous to Neolithic, signifying the creative life force of the goddess. And here are the serpent goddesses that I wanted to give you a closer look at. These are only 13 inches tall. I have seen them in the museum on Crete at Heraklion, and they are so magical and powerful. You just want to just gaze into their eyes for hours. I mean, you can just see the pure essence of this, the wild feminine here, right? This extremely powerful perception of what the feminine is and what our power truly is. Their eyes being so wide like this probably represents that they're in some kind of a trance state. You know, they're in a liminal state, connecting with the other worlds, the other dimensions beyond. Both of them have the bare breasts, honoring that sacredness, voluptuousness of the body and the feminine form. And you can see this one has serpents just winding up her arms, around her shoulders, around her torso. Truly incredible. And this is a lion cub on the top. So that feline energy is often intermixed and intertwined with serpentine energy. Really beautiful. Even the construction of these are carved from faience, which is a stone it's a very hard stone. And so we don't understand how they were able to carve it so thin that it didn't break when they were making these serpents. It's one of these feats of nature that, you know, just like the pyramids in Egypt, that we have no idea how they did that. Very advanced technologies. And then one last slide here to show the bee goddess energy. Oh my, this is so powerful. The humming of the bee was said to be the voice of the goddess, the sound of creation. And so we see this bee imagery. And the bee is often shown with the bowl and or with the moon. And so these three symbols together were united in the symbolism of life, death, and rebirth. Again, with all of this, you'll see that it's continually reflecting that we are always being reborn. We are always coming back in another form. So I'll pause there. Because then I'm going to go into what happened, but I'll pause there for now. Emer, did you have anything you want to say?
I just thank you for all those images and bringing it all together like that. I'm like, wow with every single one. And yeah, just the goddess figures are so voluptuous and strong, and you know, it's like, here I am, this is me in my full glory. And yes, it's so beautiful to be reminded of that and to remember that's ultimately who we are. So thank you.
Yes, yes. And some of these really ancient goddesses were so fierce, you know, too. There's such a strong energy in these images as you see them. That's why I wanted to share the images, you know, but you think of the goddesses like Sekhmet in the Egyptian tradition, or Pele, you know, or Shakti or Kali. I mean, they are such big energy. These ladies are not afraid to take up space, right? And they know that they hold this profound power. Also, Isis, who is right here behind me, you know, she's one of those really just incredibly powerful ones. So it's good for us to feel their energy and bring that awareness into our being.
Yeah.
So I'll go on with this next part here. And what happened? and really what happened is they were so powerful, and there began to be forces in the world. And this was the beginning of the rise of the patriarchy, that couldn't even handle how powerful they were, and started to take actions to try to destroy that, or to try to remove them from their power. And so we see, honestly, that some of the things I'll show you next, you'll see how ridiculous it is that they were trying to do this. So here, for example, on the left, we have a Neolithic image of the goddess Inanna Ishtar. And Inanna Ishtar is in Babylon and Sumeria, in that region of the world, and is really quite equivalent with who Isis was in Egypt. You know, this is like the great mother goddess. And there's this beautiful little poem here. I step onto the heavens and the rain rains down. I step onto the earth and grass and herbs sprout up. She is life itself. She's standing on two stags. As you can see, she has wings. This is a very nature-oriented image of her. And then just a couple thousand years later, here's the Bronze Age representation of the same goddess. Now she has on this helmet. She's got a fierce lion. Not that the lion is negative, but the way it was used in battle is what's being depicted here. She has these weapons. These are maces. She's holding either a mace or a sword here. It's so violent, right? And this was the shift that we see happening out of this pure connection with life itself into, we have to defend ourselves, we have to fight, we have to prove ourselves, you know, quite a shift in the consciousness of humanity that was taking place. And so this started around 3500 BC, and it started pretty far back. You know, we see evidence of this, and then obviously accelerated as we move forward in time from there. These are cylinder seals from Sumeria, showing people, you know, these heroes coming back from battle. And so in the Sumerian myth of creation, Namu, who was the great serpent goddess of the abyss, I mean, the great mother of all things, as the cosmic waters gave birth to the cosmic mountain. This is powerful, right? She is the serpent who gives birth to the cosmic mountain. But over time, her powers were turned over to the male deity Enki. And then he became her son rather than her consort, right? So before there was this equality of the masculine and feminine and each of them having their roles, right? Enki and Namu were consorts. But then he became her son so that he can take over from her. And so this is how they shifted and changed their creation stories so that the patriarchy begins to assert its strength more and more. And then Enki goes on to become one of the principal gods of Sumeria, the dynamic organizer of the Sumerian civilization. It's just fascinating how they changed their own stories to shift the awareness and consciousness of the entire collective. And this was happening in cultures all over the world. What's really fascinating is it was even happening, like we know, for example, that this patriarchal overtake was happening in the Incan culture completely without any known contact with Europe at the same time as it was happening in Europe and Asia. So it was like some massive shift in the entire consciousness of the earth that started to occur, right? And then these woundings began to happen. This book, by the way, The Myth of the Goddess, that's listed on this slide, is an incredible book by Anne Baring. I highly recommend it to everybody if you want to learn more about these topics. This is the one that I'll show you too. It's just, again, ridiculous how they changed the story. So Tiamat was the primordial Babylonian serpent goddess, and she represents the great cosmic ocean, as well as the chaos of creation. And this is something that we see in the yogic traditions as well with Shakti. You must have chaos in order to have creation. And so the feminine was perceived as the one who would create the chaos, like the one who would shake everything up so that new things can be birthed. In these ancient times, the great cosmic ocean was not only the oceans in their place on the earth, as we know, but also wrapping around the earth. And so that's why I have this serpent image over here. This is such a powerful image because it's got the DNA and the egg at the center. But the great cosmic ocean was perceived as including the waters that wrap around the earth and the snow, the rain, the sunlight, everything that comes down from the heavens is perceived as being showered upon us by the Great Mother so that life can continue. So something that powerful as the great cosmic ocean and the chaos of creation, then suddenly the god Marduk just defeats it. And this is an image of that, the god Marduk defeating the cosmic mother goddess Tiamat from 900 BC. And it's just absurd. right? Like it's just, you can't do that. It doesn't even make any sense. And yet these were the news stories that were promulgated in the collective awareness. We see this in Egypt too. So on the right-hand side, we have these very finely etched hieroglyphs. You can see the delicacy, you can see the refinement of them, and actually the negative space is carved away. Okay, this is not on the left, you can see that it's like imprinted in, but on the right, the negative space was carved away to leave the hieroglyph as the raised part. That takes a huge amount of skill and refinement of the craft. Very feminine, right? Very delicate looking. This was from the time of the pharaoh Seti I, about 1290 BC, but he was really working hard to recreate all that had come before. So this is a style that comes from the thousands of years prior to that. And he was very devoted to reawakening that more ancient way of celebrating the divine. Now on the left here, a few generations later, this is the Pharaoh Ramses III. This is his unmistakable writing. He carved the hieroglyphs in these like so indented into the stone. It just takes over everything. And you can see he actually even put this over top of what his, I think, great-grandfather or great-great-grandfather Seti I had written, right? Like just disrespectful, and so coarse, right? And so it's just representing the distorted masculine. I think that, oh, I have one more slide here. And then in the years 381 to 395 AD was when a really tremendous wounding occurred. This was when the Roman Emperor Theodosius, and he was ruling over Rome and Greece and even lands extending beyond that. He shut down all of the pagan temples really in the ancient world. And so this was a very traumatic time. And I think this is a time that lives on very strongly in our past life memories, because it was like the masculine had been slowly trying to assert its power more and more over those thousands of years from 3500 BC. But at this point, this was a shocking state when all of a sudden, for example, divination practices were outlawed. And if you were found practicing divination, you would be killed. The sacred fire in the Temple of Vesta, which had tremendous spiritual and historical significance for Rome, was extinguished. I mean, the sacred fire in the Temple of Vesta represents the life force within us. That was extinguished. It just gives me chills to think of it. And the Vestal virgins who had devoted their lives to caring for that flame were no longer allowed to carry on. And there's just a whole list here. These holy sites, the temple at Delphi was destroyed. The destruction of temples in Syria, Gaul, Carthage, the desecration of the mystery cult in Eleusis, which had given so many people hope and understanding that death is not the end. Alexandria, Gaza, and throughout Egypt. And so this was a very desperate time. This was a time that many of those of us who were living then and were holding the mysteries were forced to sacrifice our lives or risk our lives to try to save the mysteries. And we'll talk a little more about that later. Now, following this, as we know, it only gets worse. We have the witch burnings, and I don't have slides for those because I think it's something that everybody's quite aware of. We had the witch burnings all throughout Europe. We had the Crusades, right? Just this massive destruction of human life in the name of God. Really absurd, insane for all of this to be happening. But ultimately, it comes back to this idea that the life force is so powerful. The feminine in her true ancient primordial form before the woundings is so incredibly powerful. And the powers that be want to have more power than that, right? And so I'll stop sharing my slides here once again. So I think it's important for us to understand the depths of this this shift, right? And how much it has really affected us today, and how much we still feel this today, because when we feel now afraid to come forward with our voice, or afraid to really dance in a way that would express all of our sexuality, or afraid, in whatever ways to express the incredible power that we have, it's because it's been so shut down and made wrong for millennia. So I'll pause with that.
I can feel that. Oh my goodness. Yeah, it very much, I can feel it within me. And it is a part of the thread of this soul gathering as well, that it's like I was writing down like the desecration of that, and the sacrilege to carve over the pure words. Like, it's actually so symbolic.
Yeah.
That's hieroglyphic slide. And also the power of story, and in a way how easy it is to change the story. And that becomes our Bible, so to speak, our dogma, how we live out our life.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm riled.
Yeah, it is very riling.
I can feel the anger returning, it's and a similar story in Ireland with the fires being put out and quenched, and then the Christianity arriving and going, we're going to take charge of this fire now.
Yes. And like the snakes being driven out of Ireland, right? And what incredible symbolic significance that has.
So we really are healing all of that and reclaiming this Vesuvian, divine, feminine, big, bold, and raucous within us all. To bring that balance.
Voluptuous and luscious and all of this. I mean, just honoring life itself on all levels.
Yeah. There's we visited the Orkney Islands last year, and there's a little island, one of the tiny islands is called Westray, and there was a figurine of a feminine figure found there, and they think it's about 5,000 years old, and it's called the Venus of Orkney. So it's like the oldest female figurine found in the British Isles, apparently. So, but it's tiny, like, and it's very almost looks sanitized, to be honest, compared to the pictures you were sharing. So I was having a little chuckle, like, this is our British version or Scottish version.
Well, many of those were tiny. The Venus of Lacelle actually is very tiny as well, although in the close-up she looks, massive. She's actually very tiny. And those serpent goddesses from Crete are only 13 inches tall. So it's interesting, but I think they were kept in the homes. I think they were actually something that people had with them, and were easy to carry, and were easy to, call upon at any time. So
yeah, wow. And where do you think we go from here then? So understanding the woundings, and the time before the woundings, and really feeling that within us. I find that incredibly activating.
Yes.
And how then do we bring the light, and the ascension is the word coming to me. Where do we go from here?
Yes, exactly. Well, this remembrance and this honoring of who we know that we truly are, and all that happened to try to wipe that out, is really important. Like, that riled up feeling is actually really important. It's important for us to remember all of that, because we, in our previous ancestral generations and our previous lives, were those living in those times, both in the primordial times before the woundings, when we knew, our fully exalted selves, as well as when all of that was being destroyed. We lived that. And I think it is so incredibly powerful to be alive at this time right now. This time it would be a whole other presentation, but this is the convergence of actually 6 different prophesied time frames. They're all coming together right now. And so there's no mistake. We are here to create the shift back to what we know is true. And I talk to so many women and men who know that they had past lives, when the Temple of Delphi was destroyed, or whatever that might be, right? So I invite each of you listening to think, what are the past lives you know of, and where do they fit in on this historical record, right? And we are here now to, the word that's coming to me at this moment is avenge. We are here now to reclaim that power, that life force, and to live it and bring it back boldly, right? Really letting ourselves be freed from all the guilt and shame and the making wrong, right? That was done as propaganda ever since 3500 BC. That's another reason it's important to understand and bring our awareness to the woundings, because then we can realize, oh my gosh, this guilt I have felt, this shame I have felt, this fear that I have felt about bringing my gifts, it's not true. It's an illusion. It's not who I really am. It's not my heart really saying that. It's this, 5,500 years of propaganda that's been so heavily placed upon us. And then that gives us even more strength to be able to rise above that. I'll share with you, I had a couple of nightmares recently, really strong dreams, and both of them, but the one in particular was incredibly clear. I was searching, I was looking for the mysteries, I was looking for the codes, like I had hidden them myself and I was coming back to get them. And I think that's what we're doing now, right? Coming back to find that which we hid 3,000, 5,000 years ago. And I knew as I was looking for these mysteries or these codes that something did not want me to find them, that something was watching me, that something was out to get me. And at the end of the dream, I found the code. I found it. I was looking at it and I thought, oh, I can't believe they're letting me see this. And I woke up and I drew it. I'm going to share more in the dream symposium coming up, actually. I drew it, the symbol, and then I felt very afraid. Now, this was in my awake state. As soon as I drew it, I felt afraid. And I thought, I have to hide this. I have to put it under something. And what an incredible reflection of all that we've been through, right? That even as I'm standing here awake, safe in my own home, I just drew it on a little Post-it piece of paper. And all of a sudden, all that fear comes in. I shouldn't have this. I shouldn't let it be seen. So we're here now as the ones who hid the treasures, right? Who risked our lives to hide those scrolls in the caves, right? To ensure that the books were safe, or to ensure that the lineage would be carried on, right? And so we did that then to preserve the mysteries, to keep them holy, to keep them sacred. We're back now to uncover them. We're here now to bring them back out into the light, to bring ourselves and our true nature back out into the light. What an incredibly powerful time to be living.
Wow, just tingles all over. And I was smiling at the to avenge. It's like we are now the divine avengers.
Ooh,
back
yes.
this time. And also when you share thank you for sharing that sacred dream. Oh my goodness. Because one of the meanings of Magdalene I've read is the watchtower. So almost like she's overseen all of this. And sometimes I don't know, like I'll hide biscuits from the kids. Where did I put them? I know I put them somewhere safe. So the fact that, whether it is your reality of your dream of finding the codes that you hid eons ago, that's really magical.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. It really is. But this is what we're working with in this lifetime that can be an obstacle to it, is the fear that comes up, when
Yes.
we really access these deep levels of the mysteries, whether it's within ourselves, whether it's, as we're, uncovering something in our studies, or we're walking through an Egyptian temple, or walking, standing near Stonehenge, and have these massive downloads of information come in, then it's a lot. And I want to just encourage everybody to be really gentle and patient with yourself. It's a lot to think about fully bringing it back and sharing it, or bringing it into the light, or taking it to your community, which I think it is important to do, but we also have to be gentle with ourselves and do it in the timing that feels right for us.
Yeah, I love that. I love bringing that in. Because I was sharing before we started recording that at this stage in creating this event, it feels so powerful. And it's like a power my body in this life is getting used to remembering. So thank you for bringing the reminder of the gentleness and making sure we're grounded in all of this. And we take the time for this integration to happen.
Yes. One more thing I want to mention along those lines that's really important is, we hear in the news about these increased solar flares, C flares, M flares, X flares, and all that increased solar activity. What's really fascinating is at the previous times of incredibly high consciousness, like, for example, more toward the origin point of ancient Egypt, we know that there was this increased solar flare activity as well. And so I see this as we are receiving from above, from the great cosmic ocean, right, wrapped around the earth. We are receiving these gifts to help us in this remembering and awakening process. And that's why so many people are having their spiritual awakenings now, or are receiving downloads, transmissions, intuition, receiving healing energy into our hands that we've never had before. It's really incredible what's waking up within us. And it's meant to be. It's meant to happen now. It's part of the plan for the earth, and the cosmos is fully supporting her and supporting us in that by sending us all this light, just vast amounts of light, so we can have our consciousness return to what it was at that time before the woundings.
Yeah,
it's really amazing.
That is really beautiful. Yeah, and that the messages of that light will come in so many different ways, like your dream and the symbol, and it's really beautiful. Wow. So is there anything else you'd like to share with us about these times that we're
Yes.
in?
Well, there is a shamanic journey that I could guide everybody in.
Yeah, I wondered if you had time to do that.
Yeah, let's go ahead and do the journey. Yes, so I welcome everybody to get really comfortable in your space, and I will just share one of these powerful goddess images to support you in your journey. Let's see if I can. Well, I'll just share this slide, actually. This is such a wonderful one. And so as you're getting comfortable in your space, you can either close your eyes, or you can gaze lightly at these powerful feminine images here. And begin by taking a very deep breath into your heart, really feeling the activation of the life force within you as you take that in breath. And then breathe out, releasing, letting go of any tension or any thoughts. Just let all that go for now. And I invite you to imagine yourself in a beautiful place in nature, where you're standing with your bare feet connected to the earth, with the sunlight shining brightly on your face. And you notice that a guide is approaching you. Now, this guide could be an ancient primordial goddess, or an animal, or an angel. Just really notice who shows up. And as your guide approaches you, you see the love in their eyes. And you see that they are here to support you in a powerful journey today into the past. And so allow your guide to take you, maybe they take you by the hand, maybe you get to ride on their back, and they're going to rise up with you, rising up into the upper realms. And then they're going to transport you through all time and space back to the far, far ancient times before the woundings occurred. So this may be 10,000 years ago, maybe 20, 30,000 years ago. Really allow yourself, surrender into it, and allow yourself to be taken to the place that wants to be shown to you. And as you arrive at this far distant past, time and place, your guide indicates that you get to merge with and become one of the people at this ancient time. And as you do so, and as you enter into truly living as someone at this time and place, you realize that this is you. Actually, this was a previous lifetime of yours. And you get to live it now. So notice, what does the land look like here? How does the earth relate to the sun in this place? And what are the people doing? And then connect in with the deep knowledge and wisdom that you hold within yourself as someone living in this primordial time before the woundings. Notice how you feel so intimately connected with the heavens and the earth, with the animals and the plants, and with all the people around you. Notice the vibrancy and strength and power of your life force as it flows through your veins and through your breath. I'll give you just a minute to enjoy this powerful experience. And now your guide turns to you and whispers in your ear the vibrancy of life that you feel within you. Remember it always. You can bring this back with you. You can live this way in your life today, now that you have experienced it here. And then your guide has a special message just for you. So tune in, listen in, and see what they wish to say. And then if you have a question for your guide, you can ask them anything at all, anything that's on your heart. Go ahead and ask it now. Just listen to hear your guide's answer, full of wisdom. And now your guide tells you it's time to go back. And so your guide also says you can come back here anytime and spend more time here and really enjoy it. So for now, together with your guide, you fly back up into the upper realms. You travel through time and space, and you land back in that beautiful place in nature where you began the journey. And you can thank your guide and give them a hug if you would like. And know that you can always call upon this guide again too, anytime that you would like. They are here for you. And now beginning to return back to the present moment. Take a deep breath into your heart, filling up with the magic of the oxygen and the sunlight and all the beautiful elements that surround you. And then breathe out, releasing, relaxing. When you feel ready, you can open your eyes. Welcome back.
Oh, that was beautiful. Gosh. Yeah, there was so much joy and fun and laughter where I went.
Yeah, beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah, that was really, I went there really quickly, so I hope our viewers do as well. That was gorgeous. Thank you so much.
I'm so glad. Yes, my pleasure.
Would you like to share about your free gift to awaken your connection with ancient Egypt?
Yes. So I have studied ancient Egypt and oh my goodness, it's such a powerful place. So I would love to share that with you all. And I have a beautiful video workshop called Awaken Your Connection with Ancient Egypt. And you will meet the goddess Ma'at and the god Osiris. And these are such powerful beings for you to get to know on your own journey. So and so much more. So I hope you will really enjoy that gift.
Gorgeous. Thank you so, so much. And have you any final words to share about this?
Yes. Go forth and be who you know you truly are. Yeah.
Thank you so
for all your journeys. And thank you to everyone watching for traversing these realms, for making these explorations and opening to the truth of all that we are. And thank you, Emer, for creating this beautiful event.
You're so welcome, Jocelyn. It's always such a joy to chat with you and learn from you. So thank you.
Thank you.
And to everyone watching, we will see you again soon. Bye for now.